our gaze for distant view, help us to sense life's mystery. Fly high and far and lead us each to see how we move through the winds of eternity. Light shining, illuminate our inward view, help us to see with clarity. Shine bright and true, so we may join our songs in new sounds that become full
Good morning. And any morning we are together is always a good morning. Welcome to the live in-person and live Zoom worship service of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Riverside. Our opening hymn this morning is number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, in the gray hymnal. Feel free to rise or sing as the Spirit moves you. The lyrics will also be projected on the screen. Now please rise in body and spirit and join us in singing hymn number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, in the gray hymnal.
Come, come, whoever you are, wanderer, worshipper, lover of living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come, 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 whoever you are, condemn, worshipper, whoever you living, ours is no worshipper, lover is living, ours is no caravan of despair. Come yet again, whoever you are, condemn, worshipper, whoever you living, ours is no worshipper, lover is living. Come yet again, come.
With no further mistakes, thank you for joining us here in person, and thank you for joining us remotely by Zoom, where we will continue live streaming and posting these services on our YouTube channel for our virtual attendees. I'm Nick Williams, a member of the Worship Committee, and I will be your worship associate today. Other members of the Worship Committee who make this service possible, Alec Beck, our music coordinator, and who is monitoring our visual and online connections today, Adam Wedeking, who is taking care of our sound system, and Tinka Friend, who is signing our songs for us. We welcome you to join us this morning with an open mind and an open heart, and with muted electronic devices. There we go. We invite you to leave your worries and defenses at the door and trust that what happens in worship is inspiring and powerful. Together, we affirm that this day and our being together can make each of us braver, more compassionate, and wiser as we begin a new day and a new week. Before we move into service, there are a few announcements we would like to share. We will mention several websites, email addresses, and phone numbers. At the end of the service, we will leave up a slide with all this information, and it's available on our website. The monthly UUCR newsletter usually comes out the first of every month by email and per request by postal mail. If you have something newsworthy or would like to contribute, email uuchurchofriverside.calendar@gmail.com or call the church office at 951-686-6515. If you would like to be added to our mailing list, please contact the church office. The Board of Trustees meets on the third Thursday of the month. The next meeting will be held on January 15th at 5:30 p.m. Our monthly game night resumes this month. The next game night is on Thursday, January 22nd at 6 p.m. in the Parish Hall. Come join us to relax, have fun, and connect with your fellow UUs. Bring a favorite game you'd like to share, or choose one from our collection. Now I'd like to invite our Social and Environmental Justice Committee Chair, Adam Wedeking, to the pulpit for some important announcements.
Good morning. On January 7th, 2026, Renee Nicole Macklin Good, a 37-year-old U.S. citizen, was fatally shot by United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement agent Jonathan Ross in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Good was in her SUV, stopped perpendicularly in the street, when she was approached by the agents. After engaging with the agents for about a minute, Good began driving forward when an ICE agent fired 3 shots, killing her. Despite her wheels being turned to the right while the agent was on the left side of her vehicle, federal officials and President Donald Trump defended the shooting, saying the agent acted in self-defense and that Good had run him over. This is not an isolated incident, but the result of policies that criminalize immigration and enforce borders through fear, surveillance, and force rather than care. As people of faith and conscience, we are called by love to tell the truth about this violence, to accompany those most impacted, and to keep organizing towards fulfilling the promise of our communities and institutions to make safety, belonging, and freedom real for all. We invite all people of faith and conscience to grieve together, to refuse the normalization of state violence, and to commit themselves to the long work of transforming the systems that betray our deepest moral and spiritual commitments. We invite you to join us in a prayer vigil this Friday, January 16th at 7 p.m. here in the sanctuary in memory of Renee Good and all who have been wounded physically, emotionally, and spiritually by systems that too often rely on force rather than care. And now I'd like to read a press release from the Unitarian Universalist Association that was released on January 3rd, 2025, condemning the military strikes against Venezuela. The Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, condemns the Trump administration's military strikes overnight against the country of Venezuela, done with the express purpose of capturing its president, Nicolas Maduro, and seizing control of the country in violation of international laws. These actions were taken after months of U.S. military harassment resulting in the deaths of Venezuelan citizens and undertaken without involvement of Congress, according to published reports. As people of faith and conscience, it is essential to speak out now as this situation quickly escalates, creating dangers across the hemisphere. Unitarian Universalists, UUs, believe that these actions violate our shared religious values, particularly of interdependence and pluralism, and principles which UUs affirm for themselves and for society. In a statement of conscience passed in 2010, Creating Peace, UUs proclaim that all people share a moral responsibility to create peace. That statement also said that UUs repudiate aggressive and preventative wars, the disproportionate use of force, covert wars, and targeting that includes a high risk to civilians, and call for peacemaking efforts at all levels of human interaction. These actions by the Trump administration are precisely the kind of abuse of power via military aggression that UUs have condemned throughout the denomination's 200-year history. The UUA has long supported the centrality of human rights and international law in addressing conflicts between nations. These rights are essential for safeguarding human dignity and agency arising from the innate worthiness of every soul. Unitarians were involved in the creation of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, and UUs continue to affirm the values in that document. In 1982, the UUA passed a general resolution supporting the Law of the Sea Treaty, which became the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, and helps to peacefully resolve conflicts in international waters. UUs also supported the creation of the International Criminal Court and an action of immediate witness in 2002. As individuals and through organizations like the Unitarian Universalist Service Committee, UUs have shown their commitment to creating peace that is just and equitable for all people across the globe. This action by the Trump administration, which is supported neither by Congress nor the American people, is in opposition to the principle of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all that UUs have professed for decades. As the current administration continues to consolidate power, violate domestic and international law, and trample the human rights of people both in the U.S. and abroad, we pray for the safety of all who are in harm's way. The people of Venezuela have the right, as all people do, to safety and self-determination. We urge our elected leaders and the courts to exercise definitive moral leadership to swiftly curtail these abuses of power and prevent this administration from causing further loss of life and violations of international law. And we raise our voices and pledge our active solidarity along with all people of faith and conscience who will, in the coming days and weeks, put values into action in the pursuit of peace, justice, and freedom for all our neighbors at home and around the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. Our time together is brief, but it is filled with joy. In that spirit, I invite you to turn to those around you, greet them, welcome them, and share that joy. Hello, Maggie Williams. Yeah, good to see you, girl. All right. Welcome to all our visitors today. Welcome to all our visitors today, and welcome back, old friends. We would love to meet you during coffee hour in the parish hall after the service, where you can also find our visitors tablet. Please leave your name before you leave so that we know you were here, and leave your contact information if you want updates on church events. There'll also be a short discussion period after the service for your reflections on the sermon. For those online, the best way to get added to the mailing list is to email the church office at admin@uuchurchofriverside.org. And now, I invite you to sit back, take a slow, deep breath as we move into the worship hour. You are welcome to read with me the mission statement of our church. Our mission is to foster a diverse religious community that celebrates life, affirms the individual, encourages spiritual growth and open thought, and works to advance social justice and environmental sustainability. Today's service was written by Reverend Kelly Weisman, Asprooth-Jackson. The Reverend Kelly Weisman, Asprooth-Jackson, began his ministry with the First Unitarian Church in Madison, Wisconsin in August of 2021. He was raised a Unitarian Universalist in Rochester, New York, and first experienced a call to ministry in his early teens. Kelly earned his bachelor's degree in political science from Brad College and received his seminary training at Starr King School for the ministry in California's Bay Area. His interests include fantasy and science fiction, as well as cooking spicy meals and spending time with his 2 children. And our sermon description, holding fast. It takes bravery to commit to a faith, cause, or movement larger than oneself. And it takes persistent courage to stay. The institutions and identities by which we define ourselves are only so strong as the human commitment out of which they are made. The commitments to which we individually hold fast to support the collective good of us all. Now, remembrance candle for the occupied indigenous people. We have 2 lightings of sacred flames. The first is a remembrance candle for the indigenous peoples who continue to cry out for self-determination and justice. We remember that we live off the unceded land of several indigenous peoples, including the Cahuilla, the Luiseño, the Serrano, the Tongva, and the Cupaño, and others. We light the sacred flame in their remembrance and in recognition of their ongoing struggle for freedom and dignity. Our second sacred flame is our own chalice, the symbol of our faith. We are blessed with the space and opportunity to strive to live out our common principles, to bring justice, equity, and compassion into our daily lives, to resist all that threatens the earth and her people, and to be part of a world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. Let these thoughts carry us forth as we journey and worship together. Today's chalice lighting words are That Which Abides by Martha Kirby Capo. Through the week, this chalice abides, cupped and silent. Softly it gleams in a dimly lit room, complete unto itself. Today, we come together as a community of faith, joyful and free. Our individual energies combine to spark the flame of truth. May we each draw strength for the other and, like like the chalice, may we be bathed in the fire of commitment to social justice, equity, and peace. Thank you, Bill. Our hymn now is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place, from the Teal hymnal. Feel free to rise or sing as the Spirit moves you. The lyrics will also be projected on the screen. Now please rise in body or spirit and join us singing hymn number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. This portion of our service is to support a beloved historical church. This can be accomplished several ways. In addition to the weekly collection, you may send your checks to the church address, which is shown here. You may contribute by PayPal using the QR code, which is shown here, as well as on the church website and in the newsletter. Stater Brothers Markets give our church a rebate on Stater grocery cards, which we have in church each Sunday. You get the full value, and the church also receives a percentage for free. Please see Robert Braun in the church office if you are interested in purchasing the gift cards. Please Donate as the Spirit moves you by whatever method works best for you. Thank you for your generosity. To those who give of their time and their talent, thank you for your generous care and attention. To all of you who have joined us here today, thank you for the gift of your presence. Will our ushers please come forward to receive the collection? A tote bag will also be passed around to collect food and hygiene items for our local community. Our next hymn is 1010, We Give Thanks, from the Teal Hymnal. Feel free to rise or sing as the Spirit moves you. The lyrics will be projected on the screen. Now please rise in body or spirit and join us in singing hymn 1010, We Give Thanks.
Precious day, forever clear, past far away, for this time we share, with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
This is the part of the service where we center and ground ourselves in the present moment. Please sit back, relax, and if you wish, gently close your eyes. Our meditation today is by Maureen Killeran. Here in this space, we are gathered, called by our sense of urgency or duty, or the longing for community, called to be together on this day. Here, in this space, we are gathered, called to hold ourselves accountable to our values, to remind ourselves of those hopes and dreams and possibilities for which sometimes, in the rough and tumble world, it can be hard to hold on to belief. Here in this space we are gathered, called to do our part in weaving a web of human community. Here in this space, some of us have come in pain. To those who are dealing with issues of health, we pray, we wish for courage and healing. May we pause and hold gently all the concerns, named and unnamed, that are gathered in this room this day. and in the complexities of community, it is right that in this space some have come with joy bubbling in their heart. May we rejoice together, remembering the wisdom that says joys are multiplied when shared. May we remember gratitude for warmth, thankfulness for sunshine, appreciation for the simple taste of whatever foods our lives and bodies let us choose. Here in this space, we are called to weave the web of human community. May we pause, and in our silence, may we lift up at least one blessing, one joy, no matter how small, that has touched our lives this week. May our shared silence be a blessing on our hearts, on this community, and may this blessing extend outward to grace the wider world. Now let us pause for a moment of silence and reflection. Now I would like to introduce Wren Monsour, delivering the pre-written sermon from the UU website, Holding Fast, by Reverend Asprooth-Jackson.
The world is a slippery sort of thing. It can be hard, very hard, to hold on to all the many pieces of life. In our days on this earth, we may try new ideas, new plans, new relationships, careers, or places to live. No matter how many or how few sorts of things we devote our living to, we can be assured that not all of them will last. There's plenty of trial and error to life. What was familiar and sustaining will sometimes pass away. And what is exciting and new and untested does not always transform into a well-established part of our deeper selves. Sometimes, despite our best efforts and finest intentions, some piece of the world proves too slippery for us to hold on to. In his unpublished essay, Why I Gave Up Zen, contemporary science journalist John Horgan tells the story of his ill-fated attempt to take a course in Zen Buddhist meditation. Coming with hopes of developing a spiritual practice that would contribute to his overall well-being, he found himself constantly distracted by frustrations that his internal critic could neither ignore nor forgive. Chief among these frustrations, he admits, were some of his classmates. He writes, "The worst was cell phone man. So called because the first time he came to our class, his cell phone beeper kept going off. During seated meditation, he also infuriated me by yawning, sighing, and twisting his head with a crunching noise. When our instructor at the end of our sessions asked if anyone had any questions or comments, cell phone man invariably piped up loudly. Once he told us that something amazing had happened to him the previous weekend. All the thoughts in his head began spontaneously turning into songs, and he realized that creation is nothing more than God turning silence into song, which is really just vibrations and, energy. Eventually, John Horgan took his frustrations and mental conflict about the class out into the snow with him, attempting to practice mindfulness while cross-country skiing. But even the cold simplicity of fresh snow and white sky could not save him from his wandering mind, and all the sights and thoughts that intruded on him as he tried desperately to be here now. After berating himself repeatedly for stray thoughts as varied as his daughter's cold, his wife's social activism, and his curiosity about the animal tracks crossing his path through the woods, Horgan finally gave up on the spiritual practice he was cultivating. It can be a very hard thing to acknowledge to others and to ourselves that some goal, some challenge, some want of ours is beyond our grasp, even when the job just wasn't right for us, or the marriage just wasn't good for either of us, or that dream we were following went down a path we could not follow. Even if we know in our minds that letting go is the right thing to do, it can be so hard and so painful to let go with our hearts. Yet our lives are shaped not only by what we carry with us, but also by what we have left behind. Unitarian Universalism, the religion to which I, Kelly, was born, deeply values search, ongoing growth, and the discovery of new ideas, thoughts, and perspectives. Often we find that our free and responsible search for truth and meaning requires us to leave behind what is familiar, inherited, or traditional. No less a prophet of this movement than William Ellery Channing expressed some of this sentiment when he wrote, "I call that mind free, which resists the bondage of habit, which does not mechanically repeat itself and copy the past, which does not live on old virtue, which does not enslave itself to precise rules, but forgets what is behind, listens for new and higher monitions of conscience, and rejoices to pour in fresh and higher exhortations." These are brave words, ones that match the brave work of going out, of finding what is new and unfamiliar, and of questing for the truth, wherever it may lead. These are times when leaving where we are and letting go of what has been is necessary for growth, or for justice, or for peace, or for survival. Many of us, I know, have come to be Unitarian Universalists by coming out of some other religious tradition and perhaps leaving it behind. Our faith urges us to seek so far and so wide for meaning that we reach beyond the bounds of what is known and familiar to us. This is the calling that founds new nations and religions, one cherished by Unitarian Universalists and our theological ancestors. But just as there is reason to celebrate letting go, there is also reason to honor holding fast, living with a persistent commitment to something larger than oneself. Unitarian Universalism is today a faith of joiners. If it were not for the more than half of us who have come in by choice, maybe later in life, rather than entering by birth or upbringing, we could not be what we are. But it is not only the bravery to join that sustains this or any other religion, it is also the courage to stay. In our congregations and amongst ourselves, it is somewhat common to exchange tales of the faith that we left behind in order to become Unitarian Universalists. For some of us, this is an opportunity to reveal and perhaps to heal wounds from our previous religious lives. What I wish for and would one day hope to see are spaces made for those Unitarian Universalists, both joiners and lifers, who have had their hearts broken by this faith and who, despite those wounds, are still here. The poet Robert Frost describes steadfast and abiding commitment with these brief words: "The heart can think of no devotion greater than being sure to the ocean, holding the curve of one position, counting an endless repetition." What things in life require this persistence? The practice of religion, the exercise of citizenship, the construction and maintenance of an institution, such as a partnership, a family, or an association of congregations. All these things and many more need lasting and abiding effort in order to endure. The institutions and identities by which we define ourselves are only so strong and so permanent as the human commitments out of which they are made. I live in Boston now and have found that there my audiences need no instruction in the virtues of remaining true to a cause. Steadfast institutional loyalty is hardly a foreign concept in that town, particularly in the face of great disappointment and a Greek chorus of naysayers and false friends. Novelist, lawyer, and newspaper writer George V. Higgins offered the observation some years ago that the Red Sox are a religion. If so, I see no reason not to hold my own religious movement to the standards of Massachusetts Bay's largest indigenous faith. When I climb aboard a trolley car on Sunday morning and see that more than half the train is filled with families and couples and single people, all wearing chalices on their caps and t-shirts and all on their way to worship, then perhaps I will be satisfied. When I first mentioned the title of this sermon to a friend of mine, who is long a veteran of the United States Navy, he reminded me of a traditional naval tattoo. 2 words, 8 letters, inked across the fingers of both hands to read the instruction, "Hold fast." The safe journey of a ship often depends upon the strength and dedication of its crew in holding down or hauling in this line or that. The message is a reminder, it seems to me, that the common good of the boat relies on the embodied commitment of all those aboard. I received poignant instruction in what it means to hold fast to something beloved while on a trip this past year to New Orleans. And I'll remind you, this sermon was written in 2007. 15 of us from Boston's Arlington Street Church spent a week in the Crescent City, slinging paint and joint compound, hauling dirt, planting garden beds, and bearing witness. It is my sad duty to tell everyone I meet that nearly 2 years later, the body of New Orleans still retains the terrible wounds of Hurricanes Katrina and Rita. I did not have the opportunity to visit New Orleans before the storm. Seeing the city when I did, as I did, was full of mixed emotion and images of both beauty and anger to carry back to my home. One late afternoon, our group took a solemn tour of the lower 9th Ward, a section of the city that was ignored by the national imagination until the storms, their aftermath, and the American media turned that neighborhood into a spectacle of desolation. The 9th Ward has been the heart of the working-class Black population of New Orleans for generations. Hit by the very worst of the catastrophic flooding that New Orleans experienced in the late summer of 2005, the lower 9th was almost uniformly flattened. Staring out at what used to be several acres of well-loved homes, I saw whole blocks of houses reduced to vacant lots, their contents spilled out on rubble and grass with little sets of concrete steps leading up to front doorways that were no longer there. It is the sort of view that makes the soul grow coarse. To survey the consequences of a broken canal wrought by human hands, ordered by human minds, uncaring of the risk it posed to the human lives beside its walls. Seeing all those broken houses stirred in me feelings of both anger and grief. Carrying those feelings with me still is one of the costs and one of the gifts of that journey south. But here is the lesson I offer from it today. Amidst the ruin and the rot, there stood a dirty white trailer. It was the sort furnished by FEMA, or rented from a private company and used by pre-Katrina residents who have returned to the Gulf Coast to rebuild their broken homes. In a neighborhood that was all but completely empty, largely devoid of standing houses, let alone of people to live in them, this trailer made a bold statement. "I am here," it seemed to say. "I will hold to this place, my home. I will not be moved." In his speech to the divinity students of Manchester College, Oxford, in the fall of 1896, Claude Montefiore spoke of the commonalities he observed between his own liberal Judaism and the faith of the Unitarian audience he was addressing. He affirmed that the seeking, searching spirit need not be viewed as incompatible with persistence and loyalty, that in fact, each requires the other if either is to have meaning or purpose at all. As he put it, "We are not less fervent believers in the reality of truth because we are more conscious of its infinite complexity. A love which realizes imperfection in the beloved object may be more fruitful than a blind affection which, because it sees no weakness or blemish, can strive for no improvement and attempt no purification." It is not a question as to whether we will, in our lives, leave things which are familiar and well known to us behind. That much is a sure consequence of living. Likewise, we need to trust in things outside ourselves in order to sustain our being. A tree needs roots. It also needs branches. These, then, are the questions before us. How much courage will we show in our holding on and in our letting go? How much wisdom will we find to guide us in choosing between the one and the other? And how much space will we make for both demands in ourselves and in others? Will there be honors for the immigrant, the convert, the refugee, as well as for the loyal holdout, the born member, and the internal agitator? What are you holding on to that you need to let go of? What have you let go of that you need desperately to pick up again? Blessed be.
Wow, that was a stirring sermon and a great delivery. Our closing hymn is number 1028, Fire of Commitment, from the Gray Hymnal. Feel free to rise and sing as the Spirit moves you. The lyrics will be projected on the screen. Now please rise in spirit and body and join us in our singing our final hymn, number 1028, Fire of Commitment.
From the light of days remembered burns a beacon bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits into faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the stories of a living brings a song both brave and free, calling pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion meet to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance our future can begin.
Let this service and this sermon ignite it in ourselves, our commitment to our mission and to one another, an unquenchable flame. Let us remember that we are not alone until we light this flame next time. Namaste, amen, and blessed be. Thank you, Wren, for sharing your valuable time and the reading with us this morning. It is sincerely appreciated, and we look forward to seeing you again. I also thank Tinka Friend, who accompanied the hymns in American Sign Language. We will have 10 to 15 minutes for discussion following the service. For those who wish to share your thoughts and observations on today's topic, please be aware this will be included on our video that is posted. For the rest of you, you are now welcome to adjourn to the parish hall. Would anyone like to come up and share their thoughts?
I really, really enjoyed it. Thank you, Wren. I think it was a good choice. And there was a part of the service that really, of the sermon, that really, really touched me because I've had experience with it. And it's when it talked about staying true to the faith and holding fast onto the faith, even after you felt that the faith had hurt you, something like that. And I know we've had experience in this particular church several times, not that I felt that the faith let me down. I've held fast, and this is a wonderful, loving faith, and I hold that deep within me. But people often let you down, people who are involved in the faith. And there have been several boards that made decisions that I felt and did turn out not to be perhaps in the best interest of our church. And it was difficult. It's difficult to continue on when you see decisions and things being made and you see the falling away or whatever of your beloved faith. But we hung on. There was a short period of time where it was difficult to come to this UU church. So we went to other UU churches to remind ourselves that the faith that stands strong. And then we also took some time to travel when I retired, and then come back. So I really appreciate the acknowledgement that was in there. That sometimes that does happen. It does happen that this love that you have and the faith, sometimes it doesn't, but the people who are involved in making the decisions, we have to remember we're all fallible, right? We all make mistakes. We all think this is the best decision, and it may turn out that it's not. And we have to have the grace to forgive those people who are making those decisions. So I can't ever see abandoning this faith if I'm not able to practice this faith here, I will go somewhere else where I can practice this faith, because the faith, love is the doctrine. Service is its prayer. And I love the covenant that we have, and I love what this faith stands for and helps us to strive to be our better beings, our better angels in this world, and to make the world better.
I'd just like to say that I had some stuff that, I hadn't bring a paper written down what I wanted to say. I just want to say that, once Alec, I said, Jesus here, and Alec put out his hand, I put my hand in his, and he came out here and showed a picture of Jesus in a stained glass window. And I want to tell you these things I found out that I want to share with you. Believe on the Lord Jesus Christ, and thou shalt be saved. God, I'm turning my will in my life. God, I'm taking Jesus as my personal Lord and Savior. I think we want to be all saved from sin in this world. And Nick said, we just don't let anybody get up there and say whatever they want to say. And thank you for letting me share.
Hello, I'm Walt Russell. I was moved by this talk, the idea that in the middle of that desolation, there was a FEMA trailer that stood strong and tall and represented hope and persistence and whatever else you want to come up with, I guess. But the important message was that there was something there as a beacon who remained regardless of the storm and the mess. We are currently in a very horrific mess that I was about to talk briefly about in our politics beyond total rationale. But Unitarian Universalism has always been a liberal entity, and this church specifically has to remain standing, proud, and representing the latest views of liberal thought, which would be LGBTQ, as well as all of the previous ones like Roe v. Wade and civil rights. We're not going to go back, we're going to go forward. This is a temporary, horrific time of slipping back. But this church must and will remain. I personally guarantee that as long as things don't get totally crazy here, I will keep this place afloat. I happen to have some lots in North Idaho that I'm selling, which gives me a certain amount of money. But at the same time, I need each of you to feel that this church, not only the faith, but this church is significant and must stand here against the mission in, and should stand beside when I get excited, my mind denies me, that the art museum that's just next door to us, and we also, as being liberal, allows California Museum of Photography to put up controversial things like nude gays standing in front of whatever. We don't want to sanitize CMP, California Museum of Photography. We don't want the museum next door to die. And as long as we remain strong and an anchor, those places will remain. This church must and will continue. So hold fast to that idea. And don't get too crazy about money-making schemes that are absolutely ridiculous, and also some of which are morally wrong and tortuous and will give us a bad name. So if we choose wise paths of compassion always, and you must remember that whenever you talk about liberal entities, we'll never be wealthy or rich. It's not in the nature. It's in the nature of people like Donald Trump to wallow in billions and billions of dollars. But otherwise, we always will struggle. We will always be poor. It's the nature of liberalism. But it seems that as long as we stick to our truth, though I'm not a especially religious person, I will even say that, if I have to, that God will show us a way. Because as long as we stick true to our liberal values, I think money will magically somehow show up. And I know that I have some money. It will magically show up as long as this place remains being humane, doesn't choose crazy ways of raising money that are inhumane. And thank you.
I know. That's why I'm inviting you down. Thank you. Thank you so much. Your name?
My name is Sam. I just wanted to briefly say that I came to this church like about last year, and the reason why I had come was very similar to what was talked about. Like, I had grown up in a certain religion, and I didn't have the best experience in my later years, but I really, really missed for a long time that feeling of community, or feeling of like having something to share with other people and spirituality. And so I had really enjoyed my experience, and then life got kind of in the way, so I had stopped attending. And so I found it very funny, the idea of like talking about holding fast and like thinking about what to hold on to and what to let go of, because I think in that gap where I had stopped coming, like there have been a lot of changes, and some good, some bad, some things like opportunities for me to hold on to, and a lot of other things that I needed to let go. And so I'm just very happy to be back here and kind of listen to everything, and listen to what everyone has to say, and that's all. Thank you.
I thought you said you wanted to make a comment. No, I asked if there were any. Oh, I thought you were going to go. Okay. Hello. If I don't take up the whole time. Thank you. I also grew up in a religious environment that was very detrimental to my mental health. There are things that I learned from that group that I practice to this day that help me. But it was hard. It was hard working through all the hurt and all the pain and all the hypocrisy. Reading one thing in my religious text and then seeing another and reading and seeing another. It's just like, is there some place where people actually make an effort to practice what they preach? And I did sermons, I had a ministry, I saved lots of people. I'm very proud of my work in the sense that I believed in what I did, and though some of it was misguided, misinformed, it was out of a good place. But I do appreciate the whatever, religion, if whatever you want to call it, mentality, and I do appreciate this church because there is, at least from what I heard, there is an openness to we don't know it all. I love the symbol we have. I'm not crazy about the thing that one of my favorite people died on, but, you know, it does represent my religion, kind of. But I love that it has all of it. Because if I know it all, if my religion has all the answers, then why the heck is there so much discourse in the world? Why is there so much hurt? Why are we still... Why are my relatives in Israel killing my other relatives in Gaza? And there has to be a better way. And I believe personally, and my higher power agrees as far as I'm aware, that this is the way. Community, acceptance, love, tolerance, and learning that once in a while, maybe the fundraising we're doing is not the most ethical, and we got to find a new way to do it. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sue, pronouns she and her. The idea of holding fast and letting go, I think, is the most challenging. I was thinking about the pandemic when everyone kept saying, I can't wait till we get back to normal. Normal didn't work. Democracy was not working for people. So to get back to even democracy doesn't make sense to me, because we've never lived in a democracy if it hasn't been an equal place for people. So I was thinking during the pandemic about that getting back to normal and how people kept wanting to get back to normal. And I was like, what if things just fall apart and then we rebuild? Not that I have the power to do that, but just a thought of, that was one thought I had. The other one of showing up and having the courage to show up. Renee Good showed up for her community. She put her car in front to, keep ICE away from her community, and she was brave, she was courageous, and let that inspire us.
I just decided to come down because the topic is turned toward the problems that religion has taken, the path the political path that Christianity has taken, and the difference between the original words of Christ and the policies of our country. And last week I mentioned this book. It looks like evangelical or fundamentalist, but it's very Unitarian. It goes into the metaphors of Genesis and the creation, but goes very much further than that, and talks about how the metaphor of creation made Eve a villain, and the hunter-gatherers were retaliating against the early agricultural changes that were made by human beings, and that the history of Christianity has pretty much been distorted into a vehicle to keep women depressed. And so he attributes much of the path that we're on as a result of men's domination of women, reinforced by a religion that really, in particular Protestantism, started out with the words of Jesus from a feminine vein and a revolution against the dominance of males to defining Christianity not by the words of Christ, but by the male hunter-gatherer spirit that has dominated women throughout human existence.
The book he held up was Grand Theft Jesus. Anyone else have a comment? If not, do we have anyone on Zoom that would like to make a comment? No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing your thoughts. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you. And now please join us in the parish hall for further fellowship.